snap images. There's a few other modes we can select if we go to the lower left corner. So in addition to photo, video, and portrait mode, we also have Pro mode, time-lapse, slow motion, and panorama. Pro mode gives us manual controls for a lot of features, and you can see some on-screen information such as our horizon line and metering points, as well as the ISO levels, the exposure, and more. So we have manual controls for exposure, as well as focus, aperture, white balance, and ISO. What's going on, guys? Mike here, the Detroit board, testing out the front-facing camera of the OnePlus 5. It's recording at 1080p, and I can see it tracking my face, so it's keeping my face properly illuminated or exposed. So even if I stand in front of a window, you can still see me pretty clearly. Now, as always, one of the things I really like about the OnePlus 5 is that it doesn't really make me think about the price of the phone. I really don't see this as a great value, which it is, but I see this as a great overall phone. It's light on gimmicks, high on polish, and it just seems to get all the basics right while maintaining a perfect form factor, a great build quality, a great camera system, and it seems to be just about the right size with the performance that well exceeds the limits of Android. And it really makes no compromise in terms of overall performance, especially with all those specs. Personally, the only thing I would really like to see is waterproofing and stereo speakers, although the mono speaker is pretty good overall. I'm perfectly satisfied with the 1080p display. In fact, it's the same display on the iPhone 7 Plus, so that's able to preserve battery life and performance while giving us a display that looks fantastic to the naked eye, but may not be the greatest display for VR, but that's something I don't do. But in the end, the OnePlus 5 is already one of my favorite smartphones of the year. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this look at the OnePlus 5. If you did, please give this video a like to let me know, and I'll see you again in my next video.
Hello everyone, my name is Captain, and welcome back to the channel, another 7 Days to Die video. Now this is all done in Alpha 16 B129. A lot of people asked in previous videos, so I want to make sure I put this out there. This is done on the same console. So once you have your house fortified, like last one I showed you how I did all the interior lights here, you're going to be able to protect your yard. I mean, if you got a nice manicured grass like this, you don't want things trampling over it and messing up your grass. So you can set up a little bit of a defense system here. And so what I have is I have an electric fence run all the way around my yard, set up with barbed wire on top of it, and a tripwire on the other side of it, set up to these trash can lights, these mobile spotlights here, and a speaker system here. So if anything wanders in, it won't be able to just walk into my yard. It'll make a whole bunch of noise, it'll let me know it's there, it'll light up the yard in the dark, and it'll do a little bit of damage. Here, let me show you. Okay, so we got a zombie over here. He shows up. Get his attention, so he walks over here. You can see what he does. Now, there are a couple things to keep in mind with this system here. See? Lights it nicely, siren goes on, so lets me know in the house things are going on. So he'll get trapped in the barbed wire fence, can't really go anywhere, and as he gets close enough, he'll start getting electrocuted. And this will do quite a bit of damage, and eventually it'll make him fall into the first level of death, where he falls down and starts crawling, and then it'll go ahead and electrocute him and finish him off. Now, while this is a really useful system to be able to keep zombies out and at least notify you if they're coming into your general property here, this is not the most robust system. That'll come a little bit later when we set up a lot more traps, which we can do in another video. But for this one, you can see that it did a decent amount of damage. Now the only thing we'll have to do is just make sure that he didn't actually damage any of the barbed wire, which he did. A little bit of wood and we can repair that, no big deal. But that's all there is to this. It's really quite simple, and I'll show you how I actually built this in just a second. But a couple things to keep in mind. This won't do a whole lot against the feral hordes that run in. It'll slow them down a little bit, but they will definitely wipe this out. This is just to keep out the normal day-to-day zombies, so they don't come staggering into your house while you're in the middle of walking around doing some repairs and stuff. So let me get to showing you how I actually did this. So I'm setting this up in my backyard to see what I am doing in the front yard. So what I did was kind of like I did in the house. I put a solar bank up on top of the roof, and I ran it into a battery bank. From there, I ran it into a switch, and from the switch, I have it going into relay up to the corner of the house, and from the corner of the house runs over to this relay, and from here is where I'm going to be putting in the electric fences. Now, one of the things I would recommend doing is to go with the shovel and dig a small hole. And the reason why is because when you put it in the hole, it's now ground level. If you just put it up on the ground level without being inside a hole, then what it'll end up doing is it'll be height of your face, basically, so anything crawling or ducking will go right underneath it. But if you dig one deep hole with a shovel and you put your fence in there, then when they walk up next to it, it's knee high, and so they'll just run into it. So what I did was I just went through and dug holes about every 10, 12 spots all the way around the fence, and I'm going to go through and put these posts in. So then what I'll do is I'll just connect to the actual relay and connect it to the fence. and then connect it from here over to this one. And then I'll do that all the way around. And the next thing I'm going to do is with the barbed wire here. Now the barbed wire you can actually place inside the wire. You can see that they overlap with each other here. So you can place it right on top of the wire itself. The wire will go underneath it. Makes it really easy to be able to line up your entire base. And so that the line and the barbed wire are all in the exact same spot. So when the zombie runs into it, they get stuck in the trap, and you can keep them in spot while they're getting electrocuted. Now there is one other way you can do this. You can put the barbed wire behind the electric fence, and that way when they run into the electric fence line, they will run into the barbed wire and it'll slow them down and stop them and electrocute them. But I like to have it just over the top of it here just because I think it looks a little bit nicer. Now the next thing I set up was the motion sensors. There's these stick looking things here, and these don't have to be very close to each other. They can stretch out quite a ways. So what I did was I'd stretch them out about that far away from each other, then move down a little bit more and put another one here like that. And then all I would have to do is just connect them to the same power source up here, because it doesn't have to go in any kind of sequence for it to work out. See, the power can go to both of these and they will power individually. And of course, to go from this one over to this one. Now one of the things you want to do is once it actually has power here, what you want to do is go into this where you can change it, and you want to set it to whatever duration you want to. I set it on 3 seconds. Power delay, I put it as an instant. That way as soon as they touch it, it goes off. And then the power duration, I set it to go for 3 seconds. So it'll make the siren go off for 3 seconds. But you can make it go off for as long as you want to. If you leave it on just instant, which is the default, the trigger here, then as soon as they run over the line, it'll sound the alarm, but as soon as they step off of it, goes off. So it just kind of like that rant, and then it's done. So that's all you have to do with this. Now the next thing I did was to set up these trash can lights, these mobile spotlights, and you can put these pretty much anywhere, but one of the nicest things about them is that once they're actually powered, you can hook these up and change the directions of them. So let's see, I'll set one off, we'll do this one facing that way, and then we'll just wire it in with this tripwire down here. And now it's wired in. Now once you actually have power going to it, you'll see that it actually has power. If you hold down the interact button and go down to this block aim command, you can click up here in the targeting system, and you can actually move the direction the light's facing just like you can with the turret, which makes it really easy to do. So you can see me down there. So I would, instead of just having it point straight out, you can kind of point it down a little bit, and that way you can make it aim the light exactly where you want to. And now when you back out of it, you can see this kind of angled down. And so when this goes off, it'll light up here instead of just. And then I just did that all the way through. And of course, you do the same thing with the speaker. You just plug it into the exact same chain all the way around the house, and you go with it. And so now, when something walks over this, it'll trigger the light. Be careful when you're doing this. I usually leave everything $1 when I'm ready to start testing it, because if you walk into this, you'll start taking trap damage and it'll electrocute the crap out of you, and it can possibly kill you, or if not, do a whole lot of damage to you. But that's really all I did. And I just did that all the way around, which I'm going to continue doing this, but I don't want the entire video to be super long. So I'll just run back around to the start so you can see what it kind of looks like.